Hi, welcome to Lies and Secrets channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. I thought I knew everything about love, betrayal, and revenge until the night I stood on our balcony, the city lights blurring into the darkness below, and an unthinkable idea struck me. What if I could make him feel the sting of infidelity, but not with another person? That's when I looked down at Chop, his big innocent eyes staring back at me, and the plan began to take shape. Trust me, you've never seen a revenge plot like this one. Keep watching to find out what happened when Liam walked in on us and how my life unraveled and possibly rebuilt in the most unexpected ways. The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden glow over the city skyline. As I stood on the balcony of our high-rise apartment, the breeze felt cool against my skin, a stark contrast to the heat of the day. On the turmoil inside me, I had just come back from a walk with our dog Chop, who now lay at my feet, his tail occasionally thumping against the wooden floor. I remember the day vividly, the day everything changed. Liam had come home late, his shirt misbuttoned, a faint trace of perfume that wasn't mine lingering in the air that night after he fell asleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the betrayal gnawing at my heart. In the morning, I confronted him. His confession was reluctant, his excuses weak. It was just once, he claimed, but the look in his eyes told me it was more than that. The trust we had built over years crumbled in an instant. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and a strange, dark curiosity. What would he do if the tables were turned? What if I too could make him feel the sting of infidelity, but not with another person that seemed too predictable to cliché? That's when I looked at Chop, his big innocent eyes looking up at me, and an idea as bizarre as it was began to form. It was an act of defiance, a twisted way to reclaim some control over the narrative of our relationship. I won't go into the details of what happened next, but let's just say it was an act that shocked Liam to his core, the look on his face when he walked in on us, the disbelief, the horror. It was something I'll never forget. He was speechless, his face turning pale as he tried to process what he had just seen. The fallout was immediate. Liam left, taking only his essentials, leaving behind a silence that was deafening. Our friends, our social circle, they all heard versions of the story, each more scandalous than the last. Now as I stand here, the city lights beginning to twinkle below, I'm left with questions. Did I go too far? Was my revenge justified? Or did it make me just as guilty as Liam? And what does this mean for my future? For Chop, for the life I thought I was building, the wind picks up and I wrap my arms around myself, feeling the chill. Chop nudges my hand, seeking comfort or perhaps offering it. In this moment, I realized that while I sought to punish Liam, I might have just begun a journey of understanding myself in ways I never anticipated. The days following Liam's departure were a blur of solitude and introspection. I found myself wandering through our once-years apartment, each room echoing with memories now tainted by betrayal. Chop, ever loyal, followed me, his presence a small comfort in the vast emptiness. I started to notice little things I hadn't before, like how Liam's side of the closet was now half empty, his favorite mug missing from the kitchen shelf, and the subtle shift in the air, less of his cologne and more of the scent of my own loneliness. One evening, as I sat on the couch flipping through a photo album, I paused at a picture of us at our wedding. We looked so happy, so full of promise. A pang of regret, mixed with anger, surged through me. Was my reaction to his infidelity justified, or had I, in my quest for vengeance, crossed a line that could never be uncrossed? The doorbell rang, snapping me out of my reverie. It was Luna, my best friend, who had been somewhat distant since the news broke. Her face was a mix of concern and curiosity. As she stepped inside, Freya, "How are you holding up?" she asked, her voice soft, almost hesitant. I shrugged, not trusting my voice. "I'm managing. It's just a lot to process." Luna sat beside me, her eyes scanning the room as if looking for signs of my mental state. "You know, everyone's talking about it. They are saying all sorts of things." I knew what she meant. The scandal of my revenge had spread like wildfire. "I guess I gave them something to talk about," I said, trying to sound nonchalant but feeling the weight of judgment. She took my hand, squeezing it gently. I'm not here to judge Freya, but are you okay? Really, I looked at Chop, who had positioned himself at my feet, his head resting on my toes. I think I'm trying to figure out what okay even means. Now we talked for hours. Luna listening as I poured out my confusion, my guilt, and my lingering anger towards Liam. She didn't offer solutions, just her presence, which was more than enough. Later, as she was about to leave, she paused at the door. Freya, whatever happens, remember you're not alone, and maybe think about what you really want from all this, not just for Liam, but for you. Her words lingered in the air long after she left. I sat back down, Chop jumping up beside me, his warmth a stark contrast to the cold reality of my situation. I began to wonder about the future, not just the immediate aftermath of my actions, but what I truly desired for myself. Was it forgiveness? Was it understanding? Or was it something else entirely? The city outside was now a blanket of darkness, with only the occasional light piercing through, much like my thoughts, searching for clarity in the chaos I had created. As I lay in bed that night, Chop curled up at my side. I realized that the journey ahead was not just about dealing with Liam's betrayal, but also about confronting my own, the path to healing. Whatever that looked like was mine to walk, and perhaps in some twisted way. Chop was my guide through this bizarre new chapter of my life. The morning after Luna's visit, I woke up with a heavy heart, the weight of my actions and their consequences pressing down on me. Chop, sensing my mood, nuzzled closer, his warmth a small solace. I knew I needed to face the world, to step outside the confines of this apartment that now felt like a cage of my own making. I decided to take Chop for a walk, hoping the fresh air might clear my mind. As we walked through the park, I noticed the glances from neighbors, the hushed whispers. The scandal had indeed spread, painting me in a light eye, barely recognized my phone, buzzed incessantly with messages, some from concerned friends, others from the curious or the judgmental. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the rhythm of my steps and Chop's leash in my hand. The park. I encountered Hazel, an acquaintance from our social circle, who approached with a mix of sympathy and curiosity. Freya, I heard about everything. How are you holding up? I gave her a tight-lipped smile, not ready to delve into the details. I'm coping, Hazel. Thanks for asking, she hesitated, then continued. You know, Liam's been talking. He's not painting a pretty picture of you. The news stung, but it wasn't unexpected. I figured he wouldn't, I replied. My voice steady despite the turmoil inside. But what's said is said, I'm more concerned about what I do next. Hazel nodded, her expression softening. If you ever need to talk or just get away from all this, let me know. Her offer was kind, but I felt a barrier between us, one built by the scandal and the stories that now defined me. As we parted ways, I felt the isolation more acutely. My actions had not only ended my marriage, but had also begun to erode my social connections. Back at the apartment, I sat down with a cup of tea, Chop at my feet, and tried to think logically. What did I want? What could I salvage from this wreckage? The idea of moving out, of starting anew, flickered in my mind. But where would I go? What would I do? The doorbell rang again. This time it was a process server. Liam was officially filing for divorce. Papers were cold in my hands, the legal language stark and impersonal. It was the final nail in the coffin of our relationship. I signed them feeling a mix of relief and profound sadness. That evening I called my sister Laura, who lived in another state. Our conversation was long overdue. Laura, I've messed up big time. Confessed, my voice breaking. She listened, her voice a soothing balm over the phone. Freya, you've always been the one to jump into things. Head first, but remember you're not defined by your worst moment. You can rebuild, and I'm here to help you. Her words spark a tiny flame of hope. I think I need a change. Laura, maybe a new city, a new start. Come here, she suggested. Stay with me for a while, we'll figure things out together. The idea of leaving everything behind was daunting yet liberating. I agreed, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Over the next few days, I began the process of packing, sorting through belongings that now seemed like artifacts from another life. Each item I packed was a step away from the past towards something undefined but hopefully better. As I taped up the last box, I looked around the now empty apartment. It was just Chop and me and the echoes of what once was. I knelt down hugging him. "We're going on an adventure, Chop, just you and me." The drive to Laura's was long, filled with silence and introspection. The landscape changed, the city skyline, fading into the rear-viewed mirror, replaced by open roads and new horizons. With each mile, I felt a part of my old self ending, making room for someone new, someone who had learned from pain and was ready to heal. In this new chapter, one knew the journey would be tough. The scandal would follow me. But perhaps in this new place I could redefine myself not by my past mistakes, but by how I chose to move forward. And with Chop by my side, I felt a strange sense of companionship as if he understood the gravity of our journey, a silent partner in my quest for redemption and understanding the prelimactic scene. The drive to Loris felt like an escape from a life that no longer fit, like shedding a skin too tight with the scars of past mistakes. The radio was off, the silence in the car, filled only by the soft hum of the engine and the occasional sigh from Chop, who seemed to sense the shift in our lives as we crossed state lines. My phone, which I had kept on silent, vibrated with a new message. It was from Liam. My heart skipped a beat, a mix of dread and curiosity, compelling me to read it. "Freya, we need to talk, not about the divorce, but about us. Please meet me at our old coffee shop when you're back in town." The message was unexpected, stirring a whirlpool of emotions. Anger, confusion, and a flicker of hope danced within me. What could he possibly want now after everything? After the scandal, after the divorce papers? I didn't reply, but the message gnawed at me. Coffee shop, where we had shared countless mornings, now felt like a relic of a bygone era, a place where our love had once thrived. Laura's house came into view, a quaint cottage with a welcoming porch light. She greeted us with open arms, her warmth a stark contrast to the cold uncertainty I felt. "Welcome to your new beginning," Laura said, her smile genuine, but her eyes held a question. Sensing my turmoil, I forced a smile. "Thanks, Laura. It's good to be here." That night, after unpacking, I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, much like I had done in the nights following Liam's betrayal. Chop was asleep at the foot of the bed, his presence a constant reminder of the bizarre turn my life had taken the next morning over coffee. I told Laura about Liam's message. Her expression was one of concern, her advice measured. "Freya, you've come this far. Whatever he wants, make sure it's for your healing, not just his guilt." Her words resonated with me. I needed closure, not just from Liam, but from the part of me that had acted out in such an extreme way. Days turned into weeks, and I found solace in the routine of Laura's life. I helped her with her garden, took long walks with Chop, and even started looking into local job opportunities. But Liam's message lingered in my mind, a question mark over my new beginning. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I made a decision. I called Liam back, my voice steady. "I'll meet you, but this is foreclosure." "Liam, nothing more." The drive back to our old city was filled with a tense anticipation. Coffee shop hadn't changed. The same familiar bell chimed as I entered, Chopped by my side. Liam was already there, looking older, more worn than I remembered. He stood as I approached, his eyes searching mine for something. I wasn't sure I could give thanks for coming. "Freya." We sat, the air thick with unspoken words. "What do you want?" "Liam." My voice was calm, but my heart raced. "CLA. I've been thinking a lot. About us, about what happened. I need to understand Luna. Why did you do it? Why?" Chop, his question was like a knife. "Reopening wounds I thought were healing. 'Cause you broke us. Liam, you shattered trust, and I wanted you to feel the same betrayal, but I realized now it was more than revenge. It was about reclaiming control in a twisted way." He nodded, his gaze dropping to his coffee. "I'm sorry, Freya, for everything. I've been seeing someone trying to move on, but I can't without understanding this. The mention of him moving on stung. But I pushed through. And what about me? Liam, what about my moving on? He looked up, his eyes earnest. I want you to find peace. I want to help if I can. The conversation stretched into the night, a cathartic release of pent-up emotions, confessions, and apologies. As we talked, the weight of the past began to lift, not entirely but enough for me to see a path forward. When we finally stood to leave, Liam reached out his hand, hesitating before touching mine. I hope you find what you're looking for, Freya, and I hope one day you can forgive me. I pulled my hand back gently, not out of rejection but to reclaim my space. I'm working on forgiving myself first. Liam. That's my journey now. As I walked back to my car, Chop trotting beside me, I felt a shift. The meeting wasn't about rekindling anything but about closing a chapter, the scandal, the pain, the bizarre act of revenge. With Chop, it all felt like a distant echo now. Driving back to Loris, the city lights fading behind me. I knew the road ahead was mine to define, not by the past, not by Liam's actions, but by my choices, my healing, and my journey towards understanding myself. Chop looked at me, his eyes reflecting the streetlights, and in that moment I felt not alone but accompanied by a loyal companion on this path to redemption. As the cityscape receded into the darkness behind me, the silence of the open road enveloped Chop and me. The hum of the engine was the only sound, a steady companion to my swirling thoughts. The meeting with Liam had not been what I expected. It wasn't about reopening old wounds or rekindling a flame that had long since extinguished. Instead, it was a moment of mutual acknowledgement, a step towards closure for both of us. The miles stretched on, and with each passing one, the weight of my past actions seemed to lighten. I had sought revenge, yes, but in doing so, I had also embarked on a journey of self-discovery. The scandal, the betrayal, the bizarre act with Chop, it all had led me here to this moment of clarity. On a road leading away from my past, Chop, sensing the shift in my mood, rested his head on my lap, his eyes looking up at me with that unconditional loyalty that only a dog can offer. I stroked his fur, feeling a bond that had been forged through the most unusual of circumstances. The night was deep. When I pulled into Laura's driveway, the lights were off, signaling that she had retired for the night. I quietly let Chop out and we walked to the back porch. Sitting down on the steps, the stars were out, a vast, twinkling reminder of how small our problems are in the grand scheme of things. I whispered to Chop. We're starting over, buddy, just you and me. The next morning, Laura greeted me with a knowing look over breakfast. How did it go? She asked, her voice gentle, giving me space to share as much or as little as I wanted. It was necessary, I replied, pouring coffee into my mug. We both needed to say things to understand. It's over now, truly. Laura nodded, her smile warm. And now, I said, taking a deep breath. I think it's time for me to figure out who I am without Liam, without the scandal, without the anger. The days that followed were filled with small yet significant steps towards that new identity. I enrolled in a local community college, taking classes in psychology, hoping to understand the human mind better, perhaps even my own. I volunteered at an animal shelter where Chop and I spent hours helping others find their forever homes, finding a sense of purpose in the process. One afternoon, while walking Chop through the park near Laura's house, I met someone. His name was Michael, and he was walking his own dog, a playful golden retriever. Our dogs greeted each other with enthusiasm, leading to a conversation that felt easy, unburdened by my past. Michael was kind, with an easy laugh and a genuine interest in the world around him. We talked about books, about the stars, about the simple joys of life. There was no mention of my past, no need for explanations or apologies. It was just the people enjoying a moment, a stark contrast to the tumultuous interactions I had grown accustomed to. As weeks turned into months, Michael and I grew closer. He became a friend, a confidant, someone who saw me for who I was becoming, not who I had been. One evening, as we sat on Laura's porch watching the sunset, he took my hand, his touch gentle. Freya. He began, his voice soft. I've enjoyed getting to know you. You're different in a good way. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me that wasn't just from the setting sun. Thank you. Michael, I've needed this more than you know, he squeezed my hand. We all have our stories, our pasts, but it's what we do with our future that defines us. His words resonated deeply. I was no longer the woman defined by her husband's betrayal or her own extreme reaction. I was someone learning, growing, healing, and with Chop by my side. And now Michael. I felt a sense of companionship and support that was genuine and untainted by past mistakes. Climax of my story wasn't a dramatic confrontation or a grand revelation. It was this quiet moment, this realization that I could move forward, that I could find peace and perhaps even love again in a way that was healthy and whole. As the stars began to appear, I looked at Chop, then at Michael, and knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter, one where the past was just that past. The journey ahead was mine to shape, with lessons learned and a heart open to new possibilities, and in that moment, under the vast forgiving sky, I felt truly free. Conclusion, ****. Months passed, and with each new day, I felt the layers of my past peeling away, revealing a version of myself I had never known. The scandal that had once defined me now seemed like a distant echo, a lesson learned rather than a life sentence. Michael and I grew closer, our relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. He never asked about my past. He accepted me as I was in the present. Our conversations were filled with laughter, dreams, and the kind of silence that speaks volumes. One evening, as we watched the sunset from Laura's porch, Michael turned to me, his eyes reflecting the warm hues of the sky. Freya, I've been thinking, he started, his voice carrying a hopeful tone. I know we've both been through our own storms, but I feel like we could weather any future ones together. What do you say about making this official? The proposal wasn't about rings or grand gestures. It was about a commitment to growth, to healing, to a future where we could both thrive. I looked at him, then at Chop, who seemed to nod in approval, his tail wagging softly. Yes, Michael, I replied, my voice steady but filled with emotion. I'd like that very much. As we embraced, I felt a profound sense of peace. The journey hadn't been easy. The betrayal, the revenge, the pain. It had all been part of a larger narrative, one that led me here to this moment of acceptance and love. Chop, now older and wiser, lay at our feet, his presence a testament to the bizarre yet pivotal role he played in my life. He had been my confidant, my protector, and in his own way, my savior. The next morning I sat down with a cup of coffee, looking out at the rising sun, feeling hopeful about the future. My story ends here. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me.